How dare this nigga told me he want receipts? Let's start with your mother. Your mother got the receipts, nigga. Everything is in your mother's name. That's the one who got the receipts.
To be honest with you all, and I'm gonna call Diddy. I don't know what his mother's name is, champ. But if you all noticed how Diddy's mother, she coddles him, she stands by his side like the doting wife that she wanted to be. Like a lot of black women, but their sons. A lot of these young black males get away with this stuff because their mamas allowed them to do it.
Yo Not Mace coming out to reveal that Diddy's own mother allegedly introduced him to freak-offs as a child. Yo Mace is keeping his foot firmly on Diddy's neck, and he is not shifting at all. He is not coming here to play around. And he brought some hard evidence, so it looks like Diddy has one. More thing to keep in mind because Mace is not about to let it go anytime soon.
Receipts, he dead, and everybody else you made sign paperwork so they can't talk about what I'm talking about. I'm the only one with the guts. And I signed it, nigga, because I ain't need the money.
So it looks like Ma is not quite done yet speaking on Diddy because he just came out to expose not only Diddy but also Diddy's mother. Now, for the longest time, people have been wondering just how did he ended up the way that he is. Like, listen, the allegations that have been made against him are so horrible that it kind of makes us shiver to even think about it. But that's not all, because a fourth woman came out to expose Diddy and his friends of allegedly saying her when she was just a teenager. She filed a lawsuit against him with her lawyers, saying specifically in 2003 when she was only 17 years old, and in 11th grade Miss Doe was sex trafficked and gang essayed by Mr. Combs, Mr. Pierre, and the third assailant, the law, had a whole lot of things to say about the bad things that Diddy and his associates allegedly did to Jane Doe. On the day that the incident happened, the document said when she was just a teenager, Miss Doe met Mr. Pierre in the 3rd of Sing in a lounge in the Detroit, Michigan area. While at the lounge, Mr. Pierre insisted that he was best friends with Mr. Combs and even called Mr. Combs with Miss Doe. Mr. Combs convinced Miss Doe, who was half his age at the time, to accompany Mr. Pierre and a third EST assailant on a private jet to come to his studio in New York City. Before they left for the private jet, Mr. Pierre smoked cracked cocaine in a bathroom at the lounge, in which he also aided Miss Doe by forcing her to give him oral action. The lawsuit also went into detail about how Diddy and his associates allegedly saw the teenagers saying while at the studio Miss Doe was asked by Mr. Combs, the third assailant, and Mr. Pierre. In that order, Mr. Combs then watched on as a third assailant who Miss D had not even realized had begun as a Miss Doe, as she told him to stop after third as Ella was finished. Mr. Pierre took his turn and then forced her to give him moral action, during which Miss Doe was choking and struggling to breathe. The lawsuit also said when Mr. Pierre finished, he left Miss Doe in the bathroom alone. Miss Doe fell into fetal position and lay on the floor. Her privates were in pain. Finally, after a period of time, Miss Doe regained her bearings. However, she could barely stand up and had to be helped to walk out of the building and back into a car. She was taken back to an airport and flown back to Michigan. However, she has very limited recollection of her transport home and only remembers being in her car sometime early in the morning. Okay, so y'all, is it just me, or does this mind y'all of the freak-offs that he forced onto Cassie? Allegedly, Cassie's lawsuits went into great detail about how twisted Diddy treated her and how he forced her into freak-offs, and he never checked with her or made sure that she was okay with these freak-offs. He just went ahead with it. Anyway, according to the lawsuit, the first time Mr. Combs hired a man and brought the man to his home in Los Angeles, the man, Mr. Combs, and Miss Venter wore a masquerade mask and ingested drugs. Mr. Combs directed Miss Venter to perform intimate acts with this man while Mr. Combs watched them. He got off to it while he directed Miss Venter and the man to do specific intimate acts. The entire encounter lasted multiple days. Mr. Combs began to call the arrangement a freak off or faux. He would repeatedly tell Miss Venter at random moments that he wanted an faux, and Miss Venter was eventually expected to facilitate the location and the hiring of male escorts. But y'all, that's not all, because Diddy also used Ed to force her to use drugs before the freak-off. She said Mr. Combs always supply Miss Venter and the escort with cop amounts of foreign. During the faux, Miss Venter was given X-code GB and alcohol and excessive amounts during faux, which allowed her to disassociate during these horrific encounters. It became commonplace to get IV fluids in the days after info to recover from the excessive substances pushed upon her. Miss Venter was required to dress up in lingerie for info, and Mr. Combs insisted she A weird white nail polish to contrast her nails with the skin of the black men he hired to be intimate with her now. I'll keep that part about this white nail polish in mind because we're going to go back to that in a bit now. Like I said, 4 women in total have come forward to accuse him of allegedly essaying them after drugging them, and it's kind of creepy that he allegedly did the same thing to all of them. The lawsuits are playing horrible, and they have people wondering what exactly went wrong. And with Diddy to make him allegedly into this type of person now, at first there were reports that the reason he was doing this was because he was allegedly essayed by Clive Davis and Andre Harrell when he was getting started in the industry. Now I'm not sure if you'll know this, but did he started off as an intern at Uptown Records under the mentorship of Andre Harrell did. He worked closely with Andre, who was mentored by Clive Davis, and there are now reports that Andre allegedly essayed Diddy and Groove. Met him while working for him now. There were reports that Diddy was allegedly Andre's boy toy while they were together, and Andre was in turn allegedly involved with Clive Davis, the Clive Davis of CEO of Columbia Records, Arista Records, and one of the biggest names in music. Yeah, him well. Clyde fired Andre, and then he helped Diddy set up Bad Boy Records, which was kind of weird because Andre was successful while Diddy was only an intern. I mean, the one major music event that he had organized led to 9 deaths. So why on earth would Clive even make that decision? Well, this is where Jaguar entered that chat with answers, and she revealed that Andre had been Clive's boy toy.
My focus right now is Sean Combs.
Okay. Tell us why.
Because he's a sex trafficker. And he's using music and entertainment to sex traffic.
Now, is this just boys, girls, adults, kids?
I mean, from what I've heard from sources that I would consider reliable, it really doesn't matter.
Wow.
I don't think sexuality is something that has anything to do with gender at this point for Sean. I honestly think he's just an extreme narcissist who loves power. He loves the ability to manipulate and control people. Why? Most likely because he was victimized by his mentor, who loved to control people.
And his mentor was
Andre Harrell.
Tell us how
who was
he
mentored by Clive Davis.
Now, Jaguar also said this.
And don't tell me that Andre Harrell got touched by Clive Davis too.
I'm telling you, I don't know what happened between Andre and Clive. What I do know is that Andre got passed over. Like, how do you go from being the president of Uptown and losing your entire company to your intern? Like, Puff started out as an intern.
So for a while there, we thought that Clive and Andre were allegedly the reason that Diddy turned out the way he did, but as it turns out, and quiet as is kept, it was already this way before getting into the industry, so it's not fair to blame Clyde for it. Well, at least not all of it. Because his former artist Mace is now coming out to claim that the main reason that Diddy is the way that he is because of his mama. Now Mace and Diddy have had beef ever since Mace left Bad Boy Records in the early 2000s and made some bad takes every opportunity he can to speak on his beef with Diddy and how Diddy was never been a good guy that he claims to be, and definitely not brother love. Mace has helped to grudge what looks like more than 20 years, and honestly it's hard to blame him for not being Diddy's biggest fan.